Here we go. Listeners, I have Dr. Caroline Fleck with me this week, who I'm so excited to meet. I read her audiobook in a recent drive and just, I laughed, I cried, I grimaced, all the things because it was such a thoughtful way to practice a skill that I think is so common sense and so underutilized. And so Dr. Fleck's going to be with us today. She's a supervisor consultant for the country's most rigorous psychological programs, and she is a BA in English and psychology from the University of Michigan and has a PhD in psychology and neuroscience from Duke, a world-renowned expert on the topic of validation. Yes, validation. Her new book, Validation: How the Skill Set That Revolutionized Psychology Will Transform Your Relationships, Increase Your Influence, and Change Your Life, came out last year. I'm so excited to have you, Caroline.
I'm so pleased to be here, Julie. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, and listeners, what you won't realize is Caroline's been building me up. She has been validating me and practicing this important skill of hers, and I have just felt it and feel so relieved and so confident and just so excited for this interview. So I have to say, in the short amount of time, she practices what she preaches.
Oh my gosh. And now I feel seen. You see how this happens, right? It's just like a two-way street. And before you know it, like there's psychological safety all around and it's just good stuff. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
What I think people think, I know you hear all the pushbacks on validation. Well, what about me? I want to be validated. And what we just did is like validation builds validation, validation builds confidence. Like it's not a zero-sum game. Like we each get to benefit from this. So we'll dig into that more, but Caroline, maybe just start with that. Like, what is validation and why is it like such a seemingly simple topic? Like, we know we should do this, that we should care about other people and make them feel important, but we just
It,
don't do it very well.
it's true, but here's the really nuanced thing. We understand, like if I say, like, you've got to validate that, like they don't feel hurt. Okay, I totally get that. We understand the importance of validating others. But when I talk about how important it is to feel validated by others, people
Mhm.
get really nervous. Like, we shouldn't rely on external validation. That's bad. That's shallow, right? There's all of these kind of competing messages. So it's okay. It's important for me to validate people in my relationships, but it's needy or unhealthy for me to need that validation in return. And that
What's
is,
that? Is it like a shame trigger or is that an American culture thing? Is that everywhere?
I think it is obviously we don't have a solid understanding of the term, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And so people are often confusing validation with praise
Yeah.
or agreement. Validation is neither of those things. So praise is a judgment. It's a positive judgment. Great job. You're doing this. This interview is going excellent. You're so great at this. All of that is praise, right? It feels great.
Mhm.
Uh, Sorry, you froze there. Can you hear me?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, good. But none of that is validation. Validation communicates acceptance. It
Mhm.
says, I accept you independent of how you look or perform,
Yeah.
right? Instagram, social media, all of that drives like praise seeking. Okay.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
driving this need for positive appraisal, but it is appraisal nonetheless.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous thing, right? If I constantly have to meet or exceed expectations, then I can't ever just be as I am. I don't ever feel seen. That
Mhm.
creates a high bar and it makes my existence one of constantly trying to climb a ladder and not a
Well, and,
validation ladder.
and we can't control other people's ability to validate us, right? So it's
Right.
like, I kind of get the pushback there of like, I don't know if someone is going to validate me. So I got to validate myself. I got to like
Right.
self-driven. I feel like there's an American, like, that's why I asked about culture, because I feel like here it's like, we value hard work and self-drivers and people that just deal with the hard stuff. So it's almost sometimes I think sometimes it's a generational thing too, where it's like, well, I didn't need that. I had it hard. You need to have it hard too.
That's a very interesting point. I mean, in fact, what we find across the board is the opposite. Folks who are
Hmm.
raised on invalidation, they do not fare well.
Yeah.
So, invalidating environments in which we are consistently told that what we're thinking, what we're feeling is wrong, or it's dismissed or trivialized, that those types of interactions are associated with just about every psychological disorder you can think of, right?
Oh,
So, we
yeah, like
see things
narcissism.
borderline personality disorder, across the board. What we find is the more invalidated people have been, and
Hmm.
the more chronically they've been invalidated, the worse they fare.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's almost like
with,
this shield, this facade that you want to put up. Like, you can't hurt me because I'm already hurt. But that's
Mhm.
going to have manifest and unhelpful behavior, those insecurities, that unfulfilled desire for validation.
That's right. And so when I say validation, it would probably help if I just define this, right? I'm basically talking about seeing the kernel of truth in another person's experience. So
Hmm.
validation just shows that you're there, you get it, and you care. It's got these
Hmm.
components, these ingredients. There's a mindfulness, a scoop of mindfulness, a bit of understanding, and a bit of empathy. You stir
Hmm.
that together, and you've got validation. So if you're
Hmm.
able to package those things, if you're able to say to someone, "Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree." But I'm paying attention, non-judgmentally. I get it. I see why that matters to you. That's validating. It
Yep.
doesn't say, I agree. I think aliens are coming from another planet to attack us. Right? But it's saying, I don't agree, but I see how you got there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of that's validation. If I'm to validate these
And we
thoughts.
want to validate the truth. So you quickly dispel, like, we don't want to validate what's like completely untrue, right? We don't want to gaslight. We don't want to just throw a blanket of validation on everything. So there are some criteria because not every situation it makes sense, but in more situations than not, you can see how. And what I really like about your tool, Caroline, is it's this ladder metaphor that I kept seeing you use over and over again as you threaded and built through the chapters. And it's always kind of like this pool of mindfulness at the bottom that we have to, where we can get to empathy and understanding, we have to be mindful. So walk us through what skills are needed for mindfulness. You mentioned attending and
Yeah.
copying. Curious
Ooh,
about those.
can I shortcut us just real quick? Because I think
Please.
this is helpful. Okay. Because you make such a good point. We don't want to just validate because we feel like we have to. Like, if I don't think that your perspective or um, your thoughts on this are valid, I'm not going to say so. As a psychologist, one of the like best little secrets I was taught, and I want to share this with people because it was so transformative for me. Like, as a therapist, it's my job to make someone feel psychologically safe, right? To feel accepted while also helping them change the things that are problematic.
Mhm.
And so what I learned very early on is that no response or experience is totally may be totally valid, but there's always something valid in someone's experience. You can either validate their thoughts, their behavior, or their emotions. You just need one. So, no, I don't think aliens are coming, but I can totally see why you are barricading your house, given that's what you believe. Of
Yeah.
course, you're terrified. I know what it's like to be terrified. That sucks,
Yeah.
right? I'm not saying I believe in the alien invasion, but I see your emotions as valid given what you believe. So,
Yeah.
that is the whole job. We must understand that our brains are wired to look for what's wrong. All right. That is how we evolved to get to where we are right now. We didn't focus on how beautiful the flowers were, or how lovely that lion's mane is. We saw that lion and we thought, fear, run. That thing's got big teeth. Okay. In a civilized society such as the one we find ourselves in, unfortunately, focusing just on the teeth doesn't help us as much. And we fail to see the other parts of a person's experience, apart from what is aversive to us or problematic to us.
Yeah.
So this isn't
We look
about
for
seeing.
what's dissimilar, what's to be dismissed, the negativity bias. And you thread this throughout the book.
That's
Our
right.
inclination to overfocus on negative and loss versus positive and gain. And this is something I talk with my students about all the time in decision making is loss aversion. Negativity
Yes,
bias.
yes, yes,
Like
yes.
there's
So you
1,000
know
good things.
it's everywhere. And so this becomes about retraining yourself, kind of,
Mhm.
to just like you got to radically accept that you're going to focus on what's wrong. And so
Yeah,
unless you do, by default, that's what you will do. And so you must intentionally challenge yourself to focus on what's right. And that's kind, and I don't mean right, I should say like what's valid.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What's
And like you
reasonable
said, it could be a feeling, an emotion, or like their perspective,
or a behavior.
behavior, right?
Yeah. It could be a thought, right? A behavior makes sense that you're doing that,
Hmm.
or an emotion. Those are
Yeah,
the three things. I only need one thing to be valid.
yeah.
And if you're focused on that, I promise you will find it in almost every situation. You will find it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I totally took
No,
I
that's
was off
okay.
there.
Great side track back to the latter because I think that helps build up the case for why these mindfulness skills are so important, kind of base camp of validation. So we're trying to validate someone, meaning we just want to give, um, I think the shortest, what is the shortest way to describe validation? If you had to just say it in a very simple way, Caroline.
I've got two things. One, it shows that you're there, you get it, and you care.
Yep.
The other, and this is like my little poetic side coming out, is that it is a signal of acceptance that culminates in the other person feeling seen.
Ooh, that's
Beautiful.
good.
It's not beautiful, but it's like flowery. But
It's
that's
like
what
the
it is.
inner
Like
soul has been.
I tried to capture like what's going on. What do I feel? And it's like it is like I feel seen, or I feel like you and I are we're one and the same.
We're connected.
You're my
Yeah.
people. Yeah, you're my people. Like it's that I'm
Hmm.
safe here. You're not
Yeah.
judging me. Oh, I was so afraid of how you were going to react to that, and I'm so glad I surfaced it. It's
Yeah.
that type of thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It reminds me of belonging work. A lot of times I say to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel like you belong. And I think validation is absolutely a prerequisite for that to happen. And I have a few coaching friends that are really good because they're trained, certified coaches, and so they've been through thousands of hours of training, and they are brilliant at validating, Caroline. And I find myself just sucking, it's like soaking it up. Like when I get in, I'm like,
We all do.
oh, this feels good. Like they're asking me curious questions. They really want to know. And they're like, oh, that sounds hard. That's amazing. Like you worked really hard for them. And it's just, it's wonderful. I think sometimes where I struggle is reciprocating it sometimes. And
Yeah,
we'll get to
yeah.
self-validation and things, but I did want to spend just a minute, if we could, a couple minutes on each rung of the ladder, if we could, because it's just too good of a framework, Caroline, to not share with others. So you do such a great job throughout the book, again, kind of explaining how first it's mindfulness. So you have to be fully present in the conversation, and there's skills that do that. Then, kind of the middle kind of rungs are more around empathy, right? And then going to
Understanding. Understanding.
understanding the middle, empathy at the top. Okay. I always get those two mixed up. I'm still a student of validation. But help us understand, why is mindfulness so necessary as kind of that base part of validation?
So if I don't understand or empathize, like if I'm standing across from my fiercest political opponent, it's going to be really hard for
Mhm.
me to authentically remember this is validation. It has to be authentic. Otherwise, it's exploitation or manipulation or something else that rhymes with validation, but is not it. So in order for this to really land, it must be authentic. I can't convey understanding if I really don't get it, and I can't empathize if I don't feel it. But I can always work with my attention. All right.
Hmm.
So if I've got nothing else, I can at the very least pay attention in certain ways and repeat back what I'm hearing.
Hmm.
Those are the two basic mindfulness elements here. We've got attending is one kind of skill, and then copying is the other. Those
Yep.
are two validation skills to just show that it sends a very low level of validation. This isn't going to be a huge, I feel so seen experience for the other person, but they are getting the message that you're paying attention and you're not judging them.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
sometimes that's all you can do.
And copying, I think it also plays to like our just need for peer pressure and like social comparison when you copy, even just playback. And one of my oldest, coaching skills is like the power of playbacks, playing back what someone just said. Like, what, that happened? You said that? Like, And I think the trick to it buys you a little bit of time if you don't know what to say. So it's kind of good for you too. And then they're like, oh wow, they just like played back what I said or like acted like they internalized it, even if you still don't fully understand, right? But you've communicated that they have absolutely been heard and seen.
Yeah. The research on, we call it copying. I need to flag that like in every part of the frustrating thing about this book was that in researching it, I found that like everybody calls the same thing different things,
Yeah.
right? So like in couples therapy, it's known as the Rappaport technique. In coaching
Hmm.
circles, it's playback. In
Hmm.
DBT type of therapy, we refer to it as copying, right? And so what we failed to appreciate is that it's the same freaking concept and it functions the same across relationships and it affects both parties. This is copying is phenomenally interesting. I really encourage folks to look into the research on this because it is amazing. Through its effects on mirror neurons, you start to, by no intention of your own, you're just trying to show that you're validating, you actually start to feel, to taste a little bit of what the other person is experiencing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
catalyst to understanding and empathy.
Hmm.
And that's what I love about these skills is that they, if you use them consistently, you will cultivate what you need to kind of land a higher validation punch or a
Yeah.
stronger punch, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, and the mirror neuron thing is very real. Like we connect. I mean, babies smile back. It's an instinct. It's primal. It's primitive. We have to survive together. So we've got to find a way to facilitate connection. So being copied is extremely validating, even if it is at a very basic level.
You'll find it's really interesting during conflict, uh, people stop copying. So when we
Mm.
feel threatened, when we don't feel like we're part of the group, we stop mimicking
Yeah.
the behavior of the person across from us. We mimic more when we are attracted to people or they're in positions of power. We don't realize we're doing it. But like my daughter's in middle school right now, and she's
Oh,
coming
yeah.
home all of the all of the clothes, like it's all just mirror mimicking, basically, right? The in group. And
Oh,
this is we do.
yes. Yes. If a sixth grader, like something changed with the
Yes,
clothing
she's
this
sixth
year.
grade.
And then
Yeah,
I saw
same.
our friends and I was like, oh, yeah, peer pressure,
Yeah,
copying.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very
The
natural.
fascinating thing though is that like we need to do that actually when we are in conflict.
Yeah.
Those are how we sit. That's how we signal that
Mhm.
that tribal connection. I'm not a threat.
Mhm. Right.
Okay, so it's about using stuff intentionally,
Yeah.
knowing that it's kind of built into our code.
Yeah. I've went through some Gottman workshops before, so I'm familiar with that technique, like seeing the arena and copying and
Yeah.
validating. Yeah, it works. It's hard. It is so hard in practice, like you said, to
So
do
much
it.
harder in practice. It's so much
So
harder
if
in
we
practice.
want to work our way up and get to the next step, which is understanding. So the next bucket is understanding, and there's a few skills here, Caroline. If you could just comment, briefly on each one. But there's equalizing, right? There's
Mhm.
contextualizing, and there's proposing, the Jedi mind trick, my personal fave. Tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
each one of those and how they facilitate understanding.
Okay. So my aim with these skills is to show, all right, I've shown some, I'm paying attention. If I understand, great. I want that to come across. So if you tell me something and I get it, I want to communicate that back to you in a way that's going to make you feel heard. Like I really,
Mhm.
I get it. I want you to understand that I get it. So how do I send that message? A couple of ways I can do that. One is, like you said, to equalize, which is to simply say, anybody in your shoes would do that.
Yeah.
Of course you acted that way. Of course you said that, right? One of my favorites is like when doctors, if you were to say to the doctor, yeah, I'm not sure. I think I might, I'm not sure if I should get a second opinion. And if the doctor was to say, no, you should absolutely get a second opinion. If I was your opinion, if I was in your shoes, I would get three or four, right? Or if you bring your kid to the doctor and you're like, I'm not sure if I should have brought them in. And the doctor's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? If this was my kid, that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Ah, you feel like they understand you. They don't
Mhm.
think you're crazy. They are
Yeah.
not judging you. They see
Mhm.
you, right? You
Yeah, you're
feel,
on an equal playing field, even especially with a power dynamic like doctor and patient.
mhm. Um, you'll see this all the time with great interviewers, be it like late night or daytime, whatever.
Oprah, like he uses an example. I
Yes,
love
yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. They're very good at this subtle, like, makes sense. Anybody in your shoes would do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the other skill is contextualizing, which basically looks at it's like your reaction, your thoughts, your behavior, whatever makes sense given the context, given the larger history in which you're coming from. Um,
So you zoom
so
out a little bit in that
you
one.
zoom out. Right. Like, I'm not quite sure why you would have um, jumped at the sight of a spider. Like, that seems like a huge reaction. But if I learn, for instance, that you have a spider phobia or that you were bitten by a tarantula when you were a kid, or so, there's some larger piece here that explains what I'm seeing in the moment. Now, as I'm talking this, you might start talking about this, you might start to realize that this could get dicey, right? I'm reminded of like the in couples therapy, like, oh, you get that from your mom. She's
Yeah.
that sounds just like your mom. And you're
Yeah.
like, I want to kill you. I am not my mom, right?
Right.
It's this delicate dance of how do I say, given your history, given your experiences, this reaction makes sense. But there are some times when that really, really lands.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, when we
does
consider
that make
context that's beyond what's just presently available, especially if we know the person and know their history, their past, like making sense of it, like being a meaning maker for somebody, because you might have a perspective or an insight that they may not be able to see for themselves. So I could see how that could even really provide even helpful feedback and context for the person.
it does. I was thinking actually of an example from just like 2 days ago. Okay, I'm just gonna like put myself out there. Please don't judge me. But I have a really hard time getting going before 10 a.m. This is something I'm trying to radically accept and just
It could
own
be your circadian
because,
rhythm. It may not be your fault at all. It's just how your body's wired.
oh, see now who's doing the validating?
It just contextualized. Well, I guessed actually. I don't know if I did it right.
You proposed. Yeah, very good.
I
Very good.
propose. I jumped to the next one. That's right. Yep.
Very good. I was on a call with somebody last week and I said, I'm sorry, I don't like I really have a hard time functioning before 10 a.m. because they had wanted to meet at 9 and I pushed it. And I was like, I could lie about why, but I'm just gonna say it. And she said, didn't you like don't you have MS and like didn't you aren't you recovering from breast cancer? 'Cause she'd read my book and I was like, yeah. She was like,
Mhm.
I'm shocked you're working at all. What are you talking about 10 a.m.? Honey, if you need till noon, we're good. But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
felt like, again, there it is that feeling, right? Of like, oh, I feel safe here. I feel seen. This person
Mhm.
is not judging me.
Yeah.
Like she gets it.
Yeah.
And and I don't feel judged at all for being who I am or the way that I am. So that's
Mm.
a really subtle example there of contextualizing. She just took a beat to
Mhm.
say, given your lived experience, this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Which you're so vulnerable with sharing your journey with MS. And that really threw me for a loop at the end. I wasn't expecting the cancer story. I was like, no, I hope this has a happy ending. And it does, listeners. It does. You can see Caroline's
I
beautiful
have full
Facebook
hair now.
picture.
I've got full hair. Sorry. There was
Good
a period
hair.
there where I did. I'm all good.
Good
I'm all
hair
good.
too, as you say in the book. It's like she's owning
Lemon,
that.
lemon.
So I kind of proposed with you, not proposed to you,
You did.
but proposed at you. Um, what does a propose do? Is it like we propose ideas or propose reasons why? It goes beyond contextualizing, though.
It's mind reading. You're
Yeah,
basically saying what you think the other person might be
yeah,
thinking or feeling or wanting to do,
yeah,
and you put it out there.
yeah,
Um, so the queen of this, as you mentioned earlier, Oprah, she does
yeah.
this so well. This is her entire career, is Oprah's ability to read between the lines
Hmm.
and just say matter of factly. She did this great interview with Meghan Markle
Oh,
where she's, Meghan's talking about how like, she didn't come didn't she didn't challenge the narrative that was out in the tabloids about her.
hmm.
Um, and she's saying like, I don't know why I didn't, for saying like, why didn't you just stand up for yourself? And she says, I don't know, I'm such a champion of women. And then in this situation, and you can like hear the shame in her voice. She's
Hmm.
like, I was just I was silent. And then Oprah says, were you silent or were you silenced? Boom, that's the Oprah effect,
Oh, I got
right? But it
chills.
was like
Yeah.
it was that reading between the lines of
Hmm.
like, I think your experience was actually that you didn't feel like you could.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when done well, like she did, that was done well. You actually can surface something that the other person maybe didn't realize in the moment,
Yep.
right?
Ah, ah. Yeah, and think about the shame spiral she might have been going to that interview and where that could lead the conversation to versus silenced. And she really built off of, because I struggled with this one because I was like, well, people are really crappy mind readers, especially about other people's emotions. Like we're bad guessers.
Mhm.
So I struggled with like, do I want to propose something and fear being wrong? Or
Mhm.
like you can give choices here. I'm just guessing you might have felt this way, or I'm just, I have a wild idea. Like, tell me if this is wrong. Is it okay to kind of hedge?
Totally. And in some situations, that's more appropriate. So, like if it's someone I don't know well or it's an authority, notice even in that situation, Oprah didn't say, oh, well, you were silenced. She
Hmm.
asked it as a question, very
Exactly.
delicate, right? And
Hmm.
that is the way to go. I will note though, um, you should strike out with this one. That's fine. Okay.
Okay.
You can always recover just by going back and like copying and attending, right?
Go
Like if
back
you
to
didn't, then you
mindfulness.
don't,
When all
right?
else fails, go back to base camp.
That's right. Because you obviously don't understand to the extent that you thought you did.
Yep.
That's okay,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
go back.
Yeah. I think that's what leaders struggle with. They don't want to get it wrong, and so they just don't do it at all. Because it's a vulnerable thing to do to guess, to contextualize, to propose when you could be like, you're totally off. But I find most people
Amen.
give you extra chances with this. Like that fear is not as real as it lives in leaders' minds.
I mean, let me tell you, because I'm working with folks often with severe psychopathology, where the risk of me invalidating them and saying something off, like that could do real damage, right?
Hmm.
I do this and screw it up all the time. And it doesn't do huge damage. I just go back and I don't skip a beat. I don't shut down the conversation. I don't back away. I just follow up immediately
Yep.
with so tell me more about that. I'm not I guess I don't quite understand it. Right. I just
You back
and
up
it
right to
boom.
that. Yep. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we can iterate, we can pivot. We don't have, this isn't a flawless, perfect scripted conversation. It's an ebb and flow and a lot of reading the room and then
Right.
adjusting your approach. So I found myself like really excited at the end, be like, okay, we finally made it to empathy because I thought I really understood empathy, Carolyn. I was like, I teach this stuff. I know Brene Brown. I know all these things, right? But you
Yeah,
really
yeah,
take
yeah.
it to a different level. And so the three skills here are emoting, which is expressing your emotions as like a reaction to validate. Taking action, so actually doing something, offering your support, offering. This is one I struggled with, and you can help us with this. It's different than advice, but doing something is critical here. And then
Mhm.
disclosure is the other skill here. So tell
Mhm.
us more about the empathy skills.
Yeah, so with empathy, you're basically understanding shows that you get it cognitively, logically. The
Hmm.
empathy skills show that you get it emotionally.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're telling me about let's say your cancer diagnosis and how hard it was for you and your daughter, what have you, and I tear up, it shows that I'm there emotionally. I'm feeling it. Now, of course, that could be overwhelming or inappropriate or all these other things. Um, if these skills land, if you're able to convey empathy, it is the like strongest validation signal you can send. If you screw up, the other person could be like, now I have to manage you. But it doesn't have to be this negative emotions. I mean, I will jump up and down in excitement. I will give someone a high five or
Yeah.
just get like super. I was at a friend's house. He'd redone the whole this house and like had this designer come in, and I came in and I started. Boy, I sound like I cry a lot. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
I started crying and he goes, "Oh my God, now I want to cry." Like, but I was like, this is so beautiful. It really
Oh,
was. Like I
Oh,
felt myself in that moment. There was this like, ooh, check yourself voice in my head, like pull it back. And then I was like, no, man, I want to lean into this.
authentic. It's real.
Yeah, I want to like send that, like, I see how much this mattered to you. It is so beautiful. I am here to celebrate. That is what emoting does when done well.
Yeah. I'm guessing you're maybe a bit of an empath. Like you feel
Just a little
very
bit.
easily what other people feel, which I think makes empathy is dangerous because you can feel too much to what other people feel, and you're not helpful for them, especially with negative situations. But emoting,
Yeah.
again, kind of this mirror matching or like getting excited with the person as a form of
Yeah.
validation, getting sad maybe even with the person if it's a really, I have a friend that's in cancer treatment right now, and I struggle with that validation because she does not want pity or sympathy. I know that. She wants empathy.
She wants empathy. Yeah, and it's hard. We're afraid to go there emotionally.
Hmm.
Um, we're afraid of how they're going to react. But again, when done well, you are tuning to the same frequency.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
that is what will resonate. And we
Hmm.
tend to under index on this because we have been taught to avoid emotions. Most of us
Yeah.
have been raised. People laugh all day long. They don't cry all day long.
No.
Babies laugh and cry about the same amount, not adults. We have
Uh,
been taught to avoid certain emotions.
And I think when I teach empathy skills with leaders, which perspective taking is a big part of it, which validation falls in, or well, I know in different genres there. But I find the biggest thing that holds leaders back from empathy is like, I feel like if I express this, or like if I, especially a negative emotion, I am going to be uncomfortable because I'm not going to be able to solve it. I'm not going to be able to instantly make it better. I'm not going to have great advice. I feel uncomfortable, and I'm actually prioritizing my comfort over their comfort, which again, Brene Brown and others have talked a lot about. So this is not my idea, but I do see that really preventing people from going there. It's like, oh, dismiss, like get away from the negative emotion. It's scary.
Now, here's the hope. Here's the hope. Because I work in Silicon Valley and I do a lot of consulting and I work with a lot of folks who are very kind of logical and like, whoa, I need to provide a solution, right? Like,
Yep.
what am I gonna just say that sucks? Like, how is that going to be helpful? Here's the hope. Here's my pitch to folks. Just experiment because
Mhm.
it will be so reinforcing when folks, especially in a corporate setting or an occupational setting, they're not expecting it. They're expecting you to come with some hand wavy, either
Mhm.
minimize the issue or pitch it off to somebody else. Well, you should talk to so and so at HR. They're not expecting you to say, "Whoa, that really sucks."
Mhm.
I don't have an answer, but that shouldn't have happened.
Mhm. And
Not
that is
expect.
so memorable. Like, think about when leaders have done that for you, how good that
Yeah.
feels. Like, oh shoot, they get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is reinforcing in and of itself. So, like,
Mhm.
my pitch is play with it, like
Mhm.
at low levels, maybe it doesn't have to be a huge, you don't have to cry, but like just experiment. And in so doing, I think most people find that it gets reinforced. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Yep.
positive experience and that kind of tracks.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Just play around with it. What's the worst that can happen? Try it. Put in some reps,
Collect some
experiment.
data. That's what I always say. Collect some
And I,
data
I
for
always
me.
say start small. Don't like pick the tough cookie to do this with. Like people want to like jump in the deep end. It's like pick somebody you already have some good trust and a good rapport with and build from there.
Super good point. Super good point. Yeah, I know. We're like, I heard this on a podcast that I should do it. And then we bust it out with like the most, cantankerous person or whatever. And it's like, what was I thinking?
And then it's just like self-justification. I'm like, see, this is why I never do that. Like it went horribly, so I don't have to do it again. Please don't do
You and I
that.
have like the same mind. I immediately went to self-verification, but I'm not gonna like that's gonna sound. And then you're like, good. I was like, oh, good.
Validation, Caroline. You make me feel
Fine.
so validated. I love that you live what you do. It's just very cool.
Super.
Um, last thing, as we wrap up, I know one of the other kind of pushbacks you get is like, well, I want validation. Why do I have to do all the validating? But this actually, self-validation, you can use these tools on yourself. And you have done this with your MS journey. You've done this with a lot of your own life circumstances. And it's not selfish to validate yourself. You can actually use these tools introspectively as well.
And I will say this, oh, this might be a little controversial. Well, whatever. As a woman, I think if you are a woman or you are a minority, um, in any way, shape, or form, you have
Sure.
probably gotten the message that your voice, your opinion, your whatever doesn't matter as much as somebody else's. And
Hmm.
so we have internalized self-invalidation. And it takes skill. I mean, it's like learning to ride a bike. It's a real practice, and you don't just happen upon it. You have to intentionally notice when you are discrediting yourself or dismissing yourself and say, like, no, let me find the validity in this. Like, why am I anxious? It's not just that I'm a head case. Why were my feelings hurt when, that person responded however to me? Oh, it's just because I'm too sensitive. Or, well, no, 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 no. What's
Hmm.
valid here? What's valid about my experience?
Mm.
Um, because we are
Hmm.
not taught to do that, especially,
Yeah.
especially minorities.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And that's something we talk a lot about on this podcast is historically marginalized groups, women, folks of color, those with disabilities, like minimize, hide, cover that part
Mhm.
of you to fit in with dominant group norms. And validation can be a great tool to use at your own disposal to journal out those thoughts and go through kind of the ladder of process and make sure that you're honoring what's valid within
Yeah, I mean,
yourself too.
it's important to notice that like self-validation, I mean, not self-validation, invalidation by others is part of that experience. It is part of what has been so caustic and painful about that experience.
Yep.
It's the message that you don't matter, your opinion, your voice, your emotions are not credible,
Yep.
and you need to wrestle that back. Um, but yeah, it's certainly it's a skill. I mean, I talk about all of these things. They are skills very in much the same way as any other behavioral skill you might develop. And so it takes
Yeah.
practice, consistency.
And I think it's a fun challenge. It's something that I know I'll never be perfect at, and that's not the point. But you can kind of ebb and flow through the ladder. And sometimes I get there, and sometimes I stay in the middle, and sometimes that's what the situation necessitates too. So I just love the
Sorry.
fun challenge you've given for us leaders just to try it, just to practice and keep practicing and start small and go big. So
And
Caroline,
and I like what you said about focusing. Like I would also say focus on yourself. You don't,
yeah,
just like do it at home. You don't have to like just get some reps in wherever you can get them and then try the hard stuff.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Tell our listeners where they can get the book. Remind us. It's validation, so it's super easy to find. Caroline Fleck, Fleck. But what's the best
Okay.
website to find you?
So my website is drcarolinefleck.com. I've got all sorts of behind the scenes stuff from the book, recordings of me talking with my husband, just really silly things. Showing the validation
And
skills,
those
but
are the
like
best stories. Those stories of your family are the best.
poor husband. You can find my book on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, wherever you get books. I'm on Instagram and social media at Dr. Caroline Fleck. I think that covers it. And for that self-validation piece, I've got a whole chapter at the end of my book that really walks through how to like formally practice what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So generous with your tools and your stories. Thank you. Dr. Caroline Fleck, I really enjoyed spending time with you today.
Likewise, Julie, thank you so much for having me.